Kakati-Shah, your host for the Uma Show. We're your one-stop journey for feeling empowered. We're a platform for change. We build confidence. We are your voice. We want you to be bold, be you, be Uma. Today, we're exploring empowering women, and I'm so excited to be joined by a goddess of go-getting, Sonal Trivedi, who is joining us from Dallas, and she is the founder and managing partner of the Como Group. Welcome, Sonal. Thank you for joining us today.
Rita, thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm excited to be here.
It's an absolute pleasure. So let's start by talking a bit about your background. Tell us about how you grew up and everything about you.
Absolutely. So my parents and I immigrated here to the US when I was 10 years old. We're originally from Gujarat, India. And, we had the typical immigrant journey where we had humble beginnings, and both my parents worked double jobs. We moved here to the States pretty much to get a better education. They felt this was the right location for them to bring up their family. So we actually grew up in Chicago for a majority of that period. And it was very different at that time. There weren't very many, Asian families in the town that we grew up in. I think I can count them on three fingers. So it was a unique time, but we're glad to have made it over here to the U.S.
Amazing. I love that story. And it's so true about so many immigrant families coming over for that opportunity to kind of enhance their education in particular. So talk to us a bit about your education. It's obviously very important, especially coming from a South Asian background. Talk to us about that, your choices in education, and how that influenced your career.
Absolutely. So both my parents have their master's degrees in India. And so education was really, really important in our family. And as I mentioned earlier, we ended up immigrating to the States because of the opportunities that could be for us here. Mm-hmm. So my parents really, kind of reinforced that messaging. Both my brother and my sister are physicians. And for myself, I didn't want to go down that typical path of being an engineer or a physician. So I really somehow was very passionate about business very early on. Even in high school, they had a Business Professionals of America club, which I was the president of. And the more involved I got with the club, I understood, how much fun it was to go out and meet people and really learn about the business world. So that was very, very intriguing to me. And so when I presented this idea of, studying business in university, my parents at first were like, well, as long as you have an incredible career ahead of you, and you feel like business is, how it's going to get you there, then we're completely supportive of you. And so I started out university, but all while doing university, I was also working. And so the attraction of making the money really, and just being around people that were more mature. And so I did take a little bit of a pause there from university. But as I started to kind of climb, I decided that, just looking around, everybody had a PhD or an MBA. And so I decided I better, make sure that I focus on school and then pick that up again.
Amazing. Wonderful for sharing that. And then that led naturally into your career pursuits. So talk to us a little bit about your early career.
During university, I was working early on, and I always, again, enjoyed like the corporate environment. And so, my parents are very social and have a huge community of friends that surround them. And they're almost like family because we didn't have a lot of family here in the US when we moved. And most of them, I should say many of them, again, all engineers and physicians for the most part, and some business owners too. But many of them worked with Bell Labs, and that was a major telecommunications company in the area that we lived in. And so, to me, like I looked at those role models and it was, extremely attractive. So I literally sat down and I said, well, where would I want to work? What would be my ideal space? And the first thing that came to mind was Bell Labs because of how grand it was. And, so many people that I loved and respected worked there. So I started out as an intern for them and basically worked my way up. I started out in the quality organization, and then I went into project management, product management. And along the way, I would say I was also very fortunate to have some great mentors. that really kind of guided me and helped me through that journey.
And it's so true what you talk about mentoring, because it's such an important step for all of us, no matter where in your career you are, how established you are or not. And it's something I remember being very influenced by as well, so especially in my early years. So talk to us a little bit about the Como Group. What is it all about, and how did you get involved in the industry?
So I have spent probably the last 20 years in corporate America, most of them with Bell Labs, about 18 years of those. And then I was consulting for myself, and then most recently, I was with a large multi-billion-dollar company, driving organizational change. Last year, as we all know, the pandemic has impacted so many individuals and organizations.
Mm-hmm.
And I was one of those individuals, along with my business partner. And it all happened last year on May 7th, on the National Day of Prayer, when we received news, and I had to pass that on along to the rest of my team as well. And it was crushing. But my business partner and myself, we were in Como, Italy, not too long ago before that. And, we were overlooking Lake Como, enjoying a glass of wine with a fabulous dinner. And we were just dreaming a little bit and said, after our entire corporate journey, what are we going to do next? And we are both extremely passionate about transformation, both personal and professional. And so we said, okay, well, when the opportunity comes, we're going to create our own company called Como. And we know that it's going to be about transformation. So fast forward to last May, we ended up launching Como immediately after hearing the news. And Como is unique in the sense that, typical transformations, they're all about impacting people, processes, technology, culture. But we believe that you have to start with the individuals, the people first. And so Como is all about driving holistic transformations, both for individuals and corporations alike.
I love the fact that you've named something you're passionate about a place that you're passionate about as well. Indeed, such beautiful, and it really resonates. Can you talk to us a little bit about that transformation that you actually do and some of the ways you do that?
Absolutely. So Como actually also has a special meaning behind it. So C is for clarity. If you think about it, whenever you're trying to embark on any kind of journey, any kind of challenge, any kind of dream, you have to have clarity of what it is that you want, right? You've got to dream in high definition, and you really have to understand, what it is that you're going after. And it's all about ownership. And, a lot of times, people have ideas, right? Ideas without action are just dreams. And so ownership, once you have that clarity of where you want to go, is also very, very critical. And then having a meaningful mindset. All too often, especially in this chaotic world, oftentimes we think we want something or we want to go after something, but having a meaningful mindset, having purpose, being authentic is really, really important. And then last but not least, we're all different and unique in our own ways. So we believe that it's really critical to embrace your one of a kind, personalities and skill sets and capabilities. So that's really what Como is about. And over the past year, the way that we've really kind of used that is through a number of different vehicles. First and foremost, building a team that truly the values. So we've got an extremely diverse team at Como. It's global in nature. To me, also going back to my roots in India and supporting individuals out there and being able to leverage some of those capabilities from the country that I came from is really, really important. Both my business partner and I are women. And so, just again, creating an environment where, we can be ourselves, we can be our mom, our mom role. We can be like the corporate woman. We can be juggling multiple projects and things like that. And so creating that culture that's supportive of women was also very, very important. And leveraging, the team, basically, we've been able to work with both individuals, small companies, and then we've got a couple of clients that are also multi-billion-dollar companies now. And what we're really helping them to do is transform their organizations, transform the culture. And so if we're implementing, say, a new e-commerce system or a marketplace, then it's not just about going in and replacing that technology, right? People have to understand, why are we doing this? How is this going to help our customers? How is this going to help our employees? You know, how is this really going to add value at the end of the day? And what's my role in really being able to deliver that? So that's what we mean by transformation. And those are a couple of examples of what we've been doing.
Fabulous. I love how you shared that. And it's such meaningful work that is actually making transformation and change happen. I mean, I love the way you actually put the steps together, because you're right, with so many times, unless you take ownership, nothing actually gets done. So it's very action orientated. Did you face any barriers of being a woman in your industry?
Absolutely. I think early on in my career, oftentimes I would look around the room and I was the only woman, you know, in a room full of men. And that was a reality for a very, very long time. I've always had global roles in my corporate career, and that was also the case, you know, traveling abroad. You know, it's simple things like when you would like walk into the airline, right? And I'm the only woman sitting like in first class sometimes. Or it's simple things like walking in and everybody else is in a suit and I'll be in a dress. But it was very challenging. That being said, I have always been fortunate enough to have some amazing women mentors in my life, and I have sought them out over the years. Even if it's just that one person, you know, I've tried to just go out of my way to make sure that I'm connected with them so I can learn from their experiences. And that's really, really served me well. And that's the other thing about Como is both Christine and I have kind of sat down and said, well, you know, do we really need to have all these barriers in our company? And so if we want to, you know, have a podcast where we can just be, again, our authentic selves, then why not? Let's just go ahead and do that. In our book, you know, we decided, instead of writing just traditional leadership lessons, why not do it in a creative, unique way that's storytelling? And so, you know, I think over the years, while there have been a lot of challenges being a woman, I've somehow figured out how to use them to my advantage to really be able to not only, you know, maneuver myself, but I feel like growing up, oftentimes I didn't really have that role model, you know, and I want to be able to really shine that light on being a woman and, you know, being able to embrace pretty much anything that comes our way.
That's such a fabulous story that you shared. Could you give us an example of a challenge that you faced, whether it's professional or personal, and how you overcame it?
So I think a recent challenge for me that comes to mind is I was in a very bad car accident a couple of years ago. And it was unexpected, and I severely injured myself where I needed to have a surgery on my C5, C6 spine. And over the duration of several months, you know, I was going to physical therapy and all of that, and it wasn't getting better for me. So I ended up having to go in and get an MRI. And when the MRI came back, they found cancer. And I think it was just devastating, one, just to go through the accident and just the pain of, like, you know, going through such a surgery, but then to get news like that on top of it. You know, I'm young, I'm healthy. I try to, you know, take care of myself the best that I can. I think it was just mentally like hard to digest at first, because I just kind of saw my life flash in front of me. Thankfully, it ended up, you know, all going well. But at that time, I think as a mother, especially, you know, all kinds of thoughts go through your head, because you have, you know, these kids that are dependent on you. You have a family, and I think that was really, really tough. So I had several surgeries that I had to undergo. But I think at the end of the day, just believing that, you know, I could overcome it. I'm strong enough to do this. Plenty of other people, you know, go through this, really, really helped me. But that was definitely a challenge that that handicapped me for a little while, I would say.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And you're right, everything you've said probably resonates to so many of our audience members that are watching this. You are a true champion, Sonal. Thank you for sharing that. What do you do to relax?
Well, there's a couple of things that I do to relax, and I've realized over the years that it's really, really important to take care of yourself, because at the end of the day, if you're not, in the best shape possible, it's really hard to take care of your loved ones, your team, so on and so forth. So one thing that I indulge in every night is just journaling, and I learned that early on at Northwestern, where I went to school. I took a theater class for an extra credit, and one of the things that they had us do was journaling, and I fell in love with that idea. So typically, before I go to bed every night, I do journal, but my journals evolved now into a gratitude journal where I just jot down a couple of things that I'm grateful for that particular day. The other thing that I love to do is also just yoga and meditation. It just really helps to center me. There's a lot going on at all times, and it's time alone, for myself. So I really, really enjoy that as well.
Amazing. And before we let you go, what advice would you give to any young girls or young women out there who are looking to follow in your footsteps?
Well, I would say that, first and foremost, believe in yourself. I've really, there are valleys and peaks in my life where, you have that self-doubt. And I think what I've realized is that everybody, kind of goes through that. Everybody has that. And so first and foremost, if you don't believe in yourself, how can anybody else do the same for you? And so I think it's really, really important to do that. And, you've also got to have like a plan in place when you are in that valley, surround yourself with, some good, strong people. To me, my mom's always there to support me unconditionally. My daughter always motivates me to be the best, that I can be. And then of course my girlfriends are always there. So I would say really believe in yourself. And then second, another important thing is making sure that you don't let anybody constrain to your view of what you should be, so dream big. There's nothing that you can't achieve if you don't put your mind to it and the work behind it. And so I think the possibilities are limitless for women, especially these days. So pieces of advice I would leave you with.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Sonal, for sharing your inspiring story with us today. And thank you to our viewers for joining us on this empowerment journey. We want you all to embrace that inner goddess of go-getting. We want you to be bold, be you, be Uma.